the climate in California prisons and among people returning home for incarceration. The second half of the show will feature your questions and answers from our panelists. You are encouraged to submit questions using the chat box or on Facebook. First, I want to tell you who I have with me today, and then I'm going to introduce our first panelist. Today we have Sam Lewis, we have Norma Cumpian, we have Jacob Brevard, and we have Robert Chavez. First off, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the Executive Director of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, Sam Lewis. A former life prisoner himself, Sam understands the various obstacles, challenges, and difficulties the prison and reentry populations face in our world. In 2017, Sam created the Hope and Redemption Team, a first of its kind initiative he built from scratch. The Hope and Redemption Team is a group of 9 former California life prisoners who go back into California state prisons to provide hope, demonstrate that redemption is achievable, and to prepare participants for successful reentry into our communities. In recent years, Sam has been the recipient of a Bank of America Neighborhood Builders Award and an Uncommon Law Uncommon Heroes Award. Since coming home from prison in 2012, Sam completed his BS/BA degree from Indiana Institute of Technology, having completed the majority of this degree while incarcerated. His passion as an advocate pushes him to continuously seek improvement for himself as he encourages others to live nonviolent lives. Please welcome Sam.
Thank you, Nick. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to all of our friends, our allies, most importantly, our members who are formerly incarcerated and those who support us. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and I hope that this is both educational and enjoyable for you as we move into this virtual world that we are now in because of our current health situation. Few announcements. First of all, even though our physical offices are closed, we have shifted to a virtual programming for the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. So all of our day-to-day weekly programs, such as Healthy Relationships, CGA, and many other day-to-day groups that we run are now being done via Zoom virtually with all of our members. So we've actually pulled our members in closer. We're in close communication with all of our members. We have a closed Facebook page that we have done Zoom chats on, and we continue to reach out and support all of our members. In addition to that, I just want to share real quickly that I would ask for everyone to spread the word, try to be compassionate and kind to all of our neighbors and the people that we're involved in as we go through this uncertain and difficult time. We are all part of the community. We are all human beings, and this is something that is going to take a team effort to overcome. This week, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, in conjunction with 40 other organizations, sent a letter to the governor of the state of California urging him to take action to make sure that those that are currently incarcerated in the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation are given an opportunity to possibly be released. Those that are 60 years or older, those that have underlying health ailments, and that are most likely to suffer from this while incarcerated. We gave a number of different things that could possibly be done by the governor, who has the power to do this. I trust and believe in this governor. I believe that he will take the appropriate action and appropriate steps. We also told him or shared with him that as community-based organizations throughout the state, that we had resources that we'd be willing to put forward, including housing, and we made suggestions to him of how these things could actually be laid out. I personally wrote a separate letter to the governor about my personal experience during the year of 2008 when I was incarcerated in the California Correctional Facility in Central California. I contracted the neurovirus while I was there, and it was probably the most horrible experience I had in my life. The symptoms, if you've ever had food poisoning, is like food poisoning times 10. And the medical care at that time in the department just wasn't there. It hit Soledad like a storm. It literally had the entire prison quarantined at one time. And it was hard to overcome, and the medical treatment just wasn't there. I will say, moving forward, that I am aware that the department has made improvements and is able to better handle infections such as the neurovirus. However, COVID-19 is something different, and I'm hoping that the governor will take action for the most vulnerable populations that are currently behind the walls of our state correctional facilities.
Thank you, Sam, for your words. Next, we'd like to turn the spotlight on to Norma. Norma Cumpian is Manager of Women's and Non-Binary Services at ARC. Recently, she was appointed to the Board of State and Community Corrections by the Governor's Office. Please welcome Norma.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, my name is Norma Cumpian. I am the manager of the Women and Non-Binary Services Program at ARC. And what we do is we offer services to all women and non-binary defining folks when they come home from incarceration. We also offer inReach into the California Institution for Women, CIW, in Corona. We've been there for, wow, almost 3 years now. We have our own group. The women named it the Women for Freedom Group. They chose that name. We miss them terribly. We also go into the Central California Women's Facility, CCWF, with our partners at our Sacramento office from ARC, and we are a part of the JOC, which is the Juvenile Offenders Committee. We've been going into CCWF for about 3-4 months now, and we also miss them. We're keep them in our thoughts. As someone who is formerly incarcerated, I spent about 18 years at mostly CIW. I know firsthand how rough this time is for the women inside. It's as scary as it is for us. It's really scary to have other people have that power over you and your movements and what you're able to do. I've been getting messages and mail. There is an email available. Hopefully that will spread to the other prisons, and the women are saying that they have cleaning products, that they're okay, and mostly they're worried about us, which is exactly how they act when we go in. So I'm really grateful that we're able to do this and reach so many people. So thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma, so much. Next, we have Jacob. Jacob Brevard is Associate Director of Inside Programs here at ARC. Jacob, welcome.
Hello, thank you, Nick. Hi, my name is Jacob Brevard, and I'm the Associate Director of Inside Programs at the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, also known as ARC. And what I do there is I'm the supervisor of the Hope and Redemption team, which is 9 former lifers that go back into California institutions and provide hope and redemption through various self-help and character development programs. And the reason I'm on this panel is to bring some light into how this pandemic may affect the people inside, as well as their families and friends out here. Yesterday, I had an interesting conversation with a young man at Pelican Bay, and he was telling me about the phone situation and how them allowing him to have free phone call enabled him to talk to his grandmother, who he hadn't talked to in almost 20 years. And it just highlights some of the issues that we have in the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations, as far as being able to communicate and feel part of the community and part of the family structure, especially in times like this when there's so much worry and uncertainty. Right now, we're not running any inside programs at any of the institutions that we are involved with. Everything has been suspended by the director of the California Department of Corrections, and so we're looking at innovative ways to connect and program with the guys inside, and we're going to do that by doing in-cell studies and other various means. So just thank you for allowing me to be on this panel.
Thanks, Jacob. And the last member of our panel today is Robert Chavez. Robert is Inside Coordinator at ARC.
You're on mute. Hello, let me go back real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, so my name is Robert Chavez. I'm the Inside Coordinator here at ARC, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. My primary job is to stay in contact with our brothers and sisters still inside through mail and through phone. One aspect of my job is to provide support letters for individuals that are going to border parole hearings or for their commutation letters. As a former lifer, I completely understand how that could play a factor in someone going to the board and potentially getting found suitable to come home. However, due to the office closure, primarily to keep our community safe and to keep our staff safe, our offices have been closed momentarily. However, we are still staying connected with our inside brothers and sisters inside. In a couple weeks, we'll be sending out thousands of newsletters inside of the institutions to brief them on what's going on out here in our community. Another thing that I would like to touch note on is, as a former lifer, again, I completely understand how stressful these moments could be. I completely understand how these stresses could be. A lot of the guys, a lot of women in there, not only think about their welfare and their well-being, but the welfare of their family members and their friends and their loved ones out here in society. And it's moments like this that could create this in-depth insight to how powerless someone could feel while they're in the institutions. And I share this in this platform for the simple point that if you have a loved one, if you have a friend, if you have someone that you care about, or if you can sympathize with these words, take the time to reflect and reach out to the inside community, and never lose the humor, never lose the hope. And I mean, by all means, you can actually share with them that you too now know what it feels like to be in a lockdown. But all humor to the side, one thing that we really need to understand is to continue to give voices to our brothers and sisters inside. And that's to get a better understanding of what institutions are providing preventive measures for COVID-19, not to get in the institutions. So yeah, just giving voice to the population out here is instrumental. And we here at ARC, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, will continue to strive and stay connected with our brothers and sisters inside.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, now I think it's time, now that we've heard from our team, it's time to start fielding questions. We had some questions prepared beforehand from our audience, and then we're also taking your questions during this Q&A, so keep them coming, please. My first question is for Norma, and the brief bit of context is that when we say members, we're talking members at ARC are people who have been formerly incarcerated and who are in various states of re-entry. So yeah, this question is for Norma, and I will also bring to the screen Nicole Zhang, Root. She's our reentry attorney with our partner Root and Rebound. So first off, how is coronavirus going to impact our members' day-to-day life? So in the lives of people who are reentering society, what are the kinds of things that they're thinking about? What is the pulse on this right now? And let's start with Norma. Norma.
Yes, well, it's the same for members as it is for everyone. We're all afraid. We're a little afraid of the future. I know that one of the women has lost her job. It was in the movies or TV production. That's industry's been hit pretty hard. So people are really worried about that. We're also worried about our families who are in different states. A lot of our members have expressed concern that they can't get out of their reentry programs, or they're trying to get parole passes to visit family members. We are keeping all of our groups on Zoom, so we are available for anyone who needs that support. We've also posted our emails on Facebook so that everyone has access to all ARC staff. Yeah.
Thanks, Norma, and for your support. Nicole, and again, Nicole is a reentry attorney with us with our partner Root and Rebound, which is based in the Bay Area of California.
Hi, everyone. As Nick mentioned, I'm Nicole Jung. I'm an attorney with Root and Rebound, embedded on site at ARC to provide direct reentry legal services to members. So I'll just add briefly to what Norma has already described regarding how the coronavirus pandemic is impacting our members out here in the community. So as you may or may not already know, there are already 48,000 legal barriers that can impact our members in all areas of life, ranging from employment to housing to family reunification. And we're anticipating that this pandemic, especially as our economy continues to shrink, will exacerbate the barriers that our members already face. So, for example, our members already face a lot of bias and discrimination in hiring. Approximately 75% of people are still unemployed 1 year out of coming home from prison. And as jobs become more scarce, we're anticipating that despite the new fair chance hiring laws, our members will face even more difficulties keeping and getting jobs. Already in the past few weeks, I've seen employers try to take advantage of our members, knowing that our members may have fewer options than most. So illegally requiring folks to volunteer hours or forcing them to work from offices that are not following the proper guidelines for spreading the coronavirus, for preventing the spread of the coronavirus. We're, of course, trying to remain proactive and get in front of these compounding issues. I'm doing my best to keep the ARC community up to date on their rights under these circumstances, continuing to make myself remotely available to support with any legal issues that come up, and strategizing with other legal services providers on how we can advocate with government officials and courts to keep the reentry community housed and stable during these uncertain times, and trying to ensure that our members won't be in a much worse position once we are able to emerge from this state of emergency.
Thanks so much, Nicole. Next, we don't do any work, whether it's in reentry or in policy or inside institutions without our partners, and in conjunction with many of our partners in California at the state and at the local LA County level, we are delivering policy recommendations quite quickly for what can be done during this crisis. And so I'd like to introduce you to Selena Chapin, who is a policy associate at ARC. And then we will also have Kent Mendoza, who is our manager of policy. Selena?
Hi. Yeah, Sam touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'll go into some more detail. ARC joined several of our partners across the state, including other community-based organizations, medical professionals, et cetera, to work on a set of comprehensive recommendations for the state to better protect people who are currently incarcerated inside our jails and prisons. So together we looked at ways to do this by looking at things that we can do on the inside to help people who are currently incarcerated protect themselves. One of the biggest things that we looked at is ways to reduce density in prisons right now. That's obviously a huge contributor to the possibility that this virus will spread like wildfire through our prisons. A couple of ways that we did that is focusing on people who are immunocompromised, people who are 60 years old and older, looking at ways that their release can be expedited, especially if they're going to be released anyway in the next 5 years. We recommend that they are released immediately to parole. We're also looking at people who have determinate sentences who are going to be released within the next couple of years, asking that they are also released to parole, those who are deemed to be low risk by the CDCR. And then in the remaining housing units, separating people as much as we possibly can. So in short, getting out as many people as we can, and those who we cannot get out, making sure that they have the supplies that they need to stay healthy, and that they have the space that they need and that it's not quite as dense. And then finally, we're working with partners and the state to ensure that when those people do come home, they're also protected, they have places to go, making sure that transitional housing has the funding that they need to take those people in, ensuring that they have, you know, access to licenses, IDs, cell phones, communication, everything that they need to get through this. As I said, these are just recommendations at this point. We did list out these 3 areas of recommendations very, very thoroughly. So hopefully we can continue to work with the CDCR and the state to make sure that these changes are implemented.
Great, Kent, let's hear from you, and then we're gonna go to Sam.
Yeah, well, I guess my update will be, hello everybody, my name is Ken Mendoza, Policy of Manager and Community Organizing for ARC. And I'll just give a quick update on some of the policy work that we're doing at ARC. And I guess some of the 2 main ones that stand out to me the most right now in regards to this topic that we're talking about, it's we're doing a lot of work around ending the transfer of our community members who are undocumented, who are in custody of the LA County jail system. We're trying to push for an end of that transfer, and especially now that, you know, this virus is happening in our jails, and our jails are one of the places where we really gotta, you know, really support our community members in there. So right now we have sent a letter to the county board supervisors, urging them to basically stop the transfer of immigrant individuals from the jail system to immigration custodies. And we are now, one of our partners sent our letters and urging the LA County Sheriff's Department to stop this transfer with this epidemic that is happening now at the moment. And then another thing that we are also doing is we signed on to a letter that one of our local partners sent out to local county officials and probation officials to provide a plan on how they're gonna implement in the county to ensure that youth who are currently in custody or who are under probation supervision, that they are being taken care of. You know, that everything, you know, right now there's visitors are being on hold, our families cannot visit their kids, and there's kids that are sitting in cells. So ensuring that there's a plan for that as well for the juveniles who are in custody for our kids. And our partners at the Justice LA Coalition, they have sent out they're urging a lot of people right now to email district attorney's office to demand to, put out a plan as well to implement a creative plan and protocols and put out there for us to see how the county is going to be, what are they doing to ensure that our people in the county jail system, in the court systems, are also being protected from this epidemic. So those are the three things that we're currently working on in regards to this epidemic and in regards to policy at the local level.
Thanks, Kent. Sam, love to have you jump in at the moment
Just
too.
to clarify for our audience, we want to inform you of the breadth of work that we're doing as an organization, all of these different departments, and how we're affecting change in this current health crisis. To inform you is to empower you. We also want to make sure that our members that are listening know that we're continuously connected to them. So the purpose of this fireside chat is to inform and to field questions, but it's also to let you know, just because we can't be in a physical office does not stop the services that we're providing to our members. If you're interested in learning more about that, please email us. Nick will provide that email. Normally, I would be leading this conversation. However, we have so much work that we're trying to share with you and so much insight from all of the different departments. This has been split up and divided to all of these different departments because we don't just serve one population, but we do serve people that are currently incarcerated and formerly incarcerated, but those are many different demographics. So please understand that. And then understanding that there's reentry, there's inside programming, there's women and non-binary department, there's policy. All of these different departments have different ways of operating and functioning. And for me, as an individual, to address this entire crowd and represent ARC, I think it would be a disservice to the power of the people that work behind the scenes that make so much happen. Nick?
Great, thanks, Sam. So as we were, we heard some policy recommendations. I'm also sort of curious, many people in our audience want to know what is happening in California prisons right now. And I'm going to push it back right to you, Sam, about what is going on right now? What steps are institutions taking to mitigate this crisis?
So I've had phone conversations with a number of people and officials inside. So one, all programming has been stopped as far as inside programming, volunteers entering the institutions. However, phone calls on Thursdays and Fridays are now free. Canteen or the store inside the facilities is available, and it's nonstop, so people don't have to wait, so that they can have all of their supplies. Cleaning supplies in most institutions are being passed out. I know in Lancaster, hand sanitizer is actually being passed out. So there's a lot of proactive action that's going on inside the institutions, and both Jacob and Robert have also communicated with other individuals for what's going on inside of these institutions. I think it's important that we understand that, and Norma also, that we understand, one, being able to inform the public of what's going on and what needs to be done also empowers the public to be able to contact our elected officials and ask them to do more. We need to really take into consideration that the population we're talking about, people that are 60 and over that are inside these institutions, people that have compromised immune systems, should not be in these institutions right now. Literally, we want to save lives. When I contracted the norovirus, I literally thought I was going to die in prison, and I'm healthy. I was healthy. This is when I was much younger too. So taking that into consideration and looking at the population that we're talking about, I'm hoping that this will encourage others to literally reach out to their representatives, to our governor, and say, can we please get this done? These are human beings. These are men and women and people that matter to us.
And Jacob, do you have an information, Jacob or Norma, as well, on what you're hearing from folks inside?
Well, I talked to a couple of people on the inside, mostly at Pelican Bay and Calipat, and they were kind of telling me the same thing that Sam has said about the program. But they were also talking about some of the good things that CDCR is doing. And we don't really highlight that a lot. We talk about some of the things that need some attention paid to them. But the free phone calls is really, really great because it's allowing people to talk to family members that they haven't talked to in years, and to get a sense of a relief that their family members are okay, that they don't have to worry about it. And the mail situation is going to be an influx of mail, which means that mail may be delayed inside the institutions, and people may not get letters for up to 30 days. And that also is very, very stressful in that environment. So the things that CDC has put into place to help guys get through this pandemic, I would like to commend them on, and I would like to commend the fellas for programming and getting this information and taking it the right way, and not causing other problems within the institution.
From the women, they're saying basically the same thing, that there have been some free phone calls. There are also cleaning products available, and they're doing some social distancing. They're not letting anyone in from the outside. So those are all really positive things. But I wanted to just add a little bit of context about the phone calls. While I was in prison, my parents took care of my son, and there was a time when they left California and they moved to Texas. And at that time, which was back in the day, the phone calls were $35 for a phone call. And I just couldn't put that burden on my parents, who already were raising my son and accepting letters from me and doing the best that they could. These were my elderly parents. So when Jacob was saying that some people aren't able to talk to their families until they were free, I just wanted to add a little bit of context onto that sometimes families can't afford those things because they're taking care of children. So this is something that, maybe will happen across the state, that everyone inside will have emails. Those are costing us a stamp. So it's an electronic stamp. And it's affordable, although our emails out here are free, but it is affordable, and it would be something where we could really be in contact with the people on the inside very quickly. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you. Appreciate
that, Norma. We're going to go to a first, we actually have a special call-in from the founder of ARC, Scott Budnick. He has a question. So we'll go to his question first. Scott?
Hey guys, can everyone see me or hear me? It's good to see everyone. Appreciate the information. I maybe I'm being too extreme, and I'd love for the folks that have been system impacted to feel free to weigh in here. I'm definitely worried that all the institutions are still running yard and day room and in programs where people gather in mass. I just know that everyone knows that if one person in a building gets sick, likely everyone in that building is going to get sick. And I worry that some of the COs can bring this disease in from the outside. Obviously, we don't like lockdowns or don't prefer lockdowns, but it feels like just for lives and for safety, folks should not be doing yard and day room and should be coming out for medical and phone calls and in a much more limited fashion. Would love your thoughts from folks who have been in there. I just have huge fears that if one case pops off, it's going to spread like wildfire.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, and to echo those fears, Sam, Norma, Jacob, Kent, if you have thoughts on this.
I do have a thought on it. Being on lockdown on the inside it's really, really challenging to be limited to a bathroom-sized cell with another person in it and not being able to come out for anything but showers every couple of days. It can be very, very frustrating. To Scott's point, it has been a history, as Sam said earlier, with viruses such as this spreading like wildfire in the California Department of Corrections. So I understand the need for social distancing, but at the same time, I also realize that a lot of people there are in very, very good shape, and I think that it needs to be handled on a case-by-case basis. I mean, if someone gets sick, of course, they need to be quarantined, and maybe people need to be isolated. But if no one's sick, I see no reason why the program should not run, and people should not be allowed to communicate with their family via phone or however they can do it, and be able to kind of have someone to talk to about some of the things that they're fearing, because that's one of the major problems in prison, is not being able to express yourself. So those are my thoughts on it.
Robert, I see you had your hand up, and you spent time in prison. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very, very critical question, and it's a double-edged sword. Being formerly incarcerated, I completely understand the stresses that come with the lockdown. However, looking at the other side of the coin, being formerly incarcerated, and for all the individuals that have been incarcerated themselves, we understand that in CDCR, a problem needs to get worse before it actually gets addressed. That's always the thing. That's one of the things that I've noticed even out here. I have a friend that actually was having some form of symptoms. He went to the hospital, and they pretty much told him, you know what, you look good. You look okay. So the only way that they will be able to test him is that he's showing some symptoms that they can actually see. And that's one of the things that CDCR medical, that's oftentimes that's what they rely on. If you're not sick where it's obvious and you're falling down, oftentimes you have to go man down. You literally have to go man down to get some medical attention. So all I'm saying is to find a way. Again, they already have their visits suspended. They're not getting visits. And again, it's a double-edged sword. I seen a comment right now, please don't suggest a lockdown. By all means, I completely understand that. And I'm not suggesting to enforce a lockdown. However, I think we're at a very critical point right now to find preventable measures to give all institutions, not only cleaning supplies, but a location where they could use hand sanitizers at the podium or wherever, somewhere that the COs or the correctional officers could be observant of that. But again, I'm not suggesting a lockdown, but we're at a critical point right now where we really need to understand what's going on.
Thanks, Robert. Sam, can we hear from you about what you think on this?
First, CDC announced this morning that 2 correctional officers have tested positive for COVID-19 in San Quentin and Folsom. So that's just early warning. Second, we have not run tests on all the staff that work in these facilities, nor the population that's incarcerated. So we don't know who has it or not. Third, in the communications that I've had with people that are inside and their family members that have communicated with them, it's not just regular yard and day room. They're limiting day room to no more than 10 people, and day rooms are pretty big, and they're instructing them to practice social distance. Same with yard. It's limited. It's not full access. Lastly, I'd like to say this, my personal experience. When the norovirus was hitting Soledad, I did everything in my power not to get it. I did not go to the canteen. I did not leave out of my cell. I bleached my cell down. I did not go to the child hall. I only ate what was in my cell, literally thinking that everybody else would get it and I won't. I don't know how I contracted it, but I know at 2 o'clock in the morning during this infection, I woke up and had severe diarrhea and was throwing up. And the night officer said there was nothing that he could do. So in some instances, when it comes to these viruses, once it's there, it's there. What we can do and what we can urge the governor to do is remove the people that are most likely to find this virus to be fatal. And those are older people right now. I know it's also been found to be fatal in younger people, but more so in older people and people with immune compromised systems. As a collective, we've worked with other organizations such as HR 360, Amity, and trying to figure out a plan for housing for people should the governor determine that he wants to release people a bit sooner than later. This is compassionate leave. And I know some people might look at this as saying, well, why shouldn't they do their time? I agree people should be held accountable. But for the crimes that they're committed for, should we also sentence them to death? And that's what we're talking about right now when we're talking about not taking action for people that are currently in this system that could possibly die from this virus if we don't act now.
Thanks, Sam. We're going to take first question or second question from an audience member. This is from Tammy. What are you finding is the most significant focus for our returning citizens, whether that's fellowship, community, employment, or counseling services? What is sort of the greatest need at the moment? Thank you, Tammy, for the question. And I'll defer to either Sam, Norma, or Nicole on this one.
Could you repeat the question, Nick?
What is the sort of biggest focus at the moment for folks coming home or recently home, whether that's building community, whether that's employment or counseling services? What are the biggest touch points here?
We found through our membership and our membership being formerly incarcerated people, we found that one, definitely community, a place where you feel safe and welcome. Therapy, having access to therapy to be able to continue to heal from trauma previously experienced, a safe place to live, and employment. So those are the 4 areas that would be the top 4. And this comes directly from, including myself, our membership that are formerly incarcerated. Norma may want to add more, but those are the 4 that we found and that we directly really worked on robustly in reentry.
Okay, go ahead, Norma.
Okay. I think a lot of exactly what Sam said, but also there's a lot of therapy. A lot of times people, especially if you're a life prisoner, you can't really talk about things until you come home. And the great thing about ARC is that we are not connected to parole. We are not connected to probation. All of our life coaches are system impacted. So we can talk about stuff, just what's worrying you. I mean, a lot of this stuff that's going on, it feels like we're back in prison. There's some trauma from that. Some of us, when we come home, we need distractions, and we're not getting it being on this quarantine. So that's something that you need to talk about right now. I would urge you to please reach out to anybody on our team, either the Sacramento office, the LA office, anyone that you feel comfortable talking to. I know that jobs is also an issue. I think right now, I understand just from watching the news that they will be hiring at places that we wouldn't have expected a year ago. So our life's going to change, and I think one of the most important things is that you feel connected and that you feel a part of this community. So I would urge you to reach out. Thanks.
Great, thanks. The next question that I would like to put to the group, this is from Jennifer. Is this pandemic at the moment affecting anyone's ability to come home due to lockdowns, people who are meant to be released or not being released? Does anybody know if that's the case? Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, people have still are still being released. In fact, we just did a ride home program. Mark Taylor went and picked someone up from Pelican Bay State Prison just the other day. I believe it was yesterday. A guy that's spent an extended time in prison, a couple of decades, and brought him to the airport. So people are still being released. That hasn't stopped that process. However, board hearings are delayed. They have suspended the board hearings, I believe, to the end of the month, which are going to prevent people from having the opportunity to present themselves to be paroled. So that's a major issue. But paroles themselves have not been tampered with or messed with. And thank you, Mark, for doing that ride home pickup. We appreciate you.
Anyone else on that question? Okay, next question is from Melanie, and if the question is about is if CDCR has begun testing anyone or those with symptoms. All right, Sam, go ahead.
So CDCR hasn't announced that they're testing anyone. However, as they did announce that 2 correctional officers had the illness, I would guess or assume, and I don't want to, that maybe they are. My suggestion would be that I would hope the governor would use some of the tests to test all staff and the currently in custody population to make sure that it's not there and that no one's bringing it in. But again, they have not announced that they're doing testing. Each day there's a new announcement, and we post those on our outward-facing Facebook and Instagram, and I also post them on my personal Facebook. There are other websites that share this information, so if you're on the lookout, it is available. Each day they submit a new announcement on what's going on with CDCR. I'll also add to that where you can actually register to be able to receive these announcements personally.
Great. Next question, this comes from Tim. He says, the US Senate is working on a bill to send a $1,200 check to all Americans. Expected the Senate will pass the bill and that President Trump will sign it. Is there any mechanism in place to ensure that recently re-entered people will receive a check given the uncertainty of their living circumstances for many? So if we don't, that's a question that might be above our knowledge, given that we're not, there's a lot there, but maybe we can have panelists speak to the importance of, insecurity related to coming home, cash, or what that would be like at this time or any. Okay. Sam.
So a couple of things. So the money that the federal government will be sending out will be helpful. I think Nicole can speak more to it, but I also want people to be aware that this is difficult. These are difficult times for everyone. I don't want to make it seem like only formerly incarcerated people are having a difficult time. And that's why it's important for us collectively to be kind and seek that compassion. Don't panic. And there's a lot of information which we'll also address before we get off, before we end this this chat that you shouldn't listen to. There's some serious misinformation that's out there on the internet, and we're going to advise you on specifically, like, eating lemons does not give you COVID-19, first of all, just to give you one example. So don't think that eating lemons gives you COVID-19. But Nicole may be able to give additional information regarding the money that will be submitted or sent by the federal government.
Hi, yeah, so as Nick mentioned, I think that everything is changing very quickly. This hasn't been signed into law yet, so we don't quite know what it's going to look like. My understanding is that the most recent version shows that folks will be receiving stipends based on their income, based on annual income. So for those who are recently released, obviously those folks have lower annual incomes, some of whom have never even had the opportunity to work yet. Those folks will be getting $600, and then the amounts that other people will get will be based again on their annual incomes. But I think that legal services providers, social services providers will all be keeping track of when this law becomes implemented and what procedures are outlined in the law to be able to collect on that stipend and help folks to apply for it.
Great. This is going to be our last question before we wrap up today from the audience. This is from Ray. We have family members who would like to visit, and is there any word on when that would be lifted so that folks can visit their family members in prison? Go ahead, Norma.
I haven't heard anything yet. I mean, I thought I would jump in and say something, but we were planning on going back in May, but like I think Nicole and Sam and other people have mentioned, things are changing on a daily basis. So I mean, I'm going to be hopeful for May, but that's not anything official or anything like that. I think it depends on what happens out here, unfortunately.
Okay, and Sam, you have something to add too?
I have not gotten any type of official word when this is literally the same with us out here in society, in Los Angeles, throughout the state. Literally until we're free to move around here, people won't be able to go inside the institutions. I think that's safer for the people inside, that because if we haven't been tested, to be honest, we don't know if we're carrying it, because it's also asymptomatic. You may have it and not know you have it. And you could literally walk into a visiting room and hug your family member, and it gets transmitted that way. Not saying that you have it, but until tests are completed and until it's run its course, the safest thing for us to do is literally write to our loved ones, continue to accept their phone calls. I believe that is every other Thursday or every Thursday and Friday. Double check with CDCR that phone calls are free. And we'll definitely continue to keep our lines of communication open to people that are inside.
And Jacob, did you have your hand raised? Did you want to speak on this as well?
I did, but Sam covered mostly of what I was going to say about the importance of not letting visits deter you from writing your loved one inside, and the importance of safety and health first. And even though I know we want to spend time with our loved ones, right now it's a time to have an abundance of caution, and maybe it would be good to communicate through letters until we get through this pandemic, because we don't want to cause a pandemic inside the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
Thanks, Jacob. And then Sam, can you we're coming to a close for our audience, so defer to Sam here.
So the last thing, I know that we haven't answered all questions, so let me share a couple of other things. I know at some of the institutions, they're clearing out or making room in the medical facilities in preparation for this. So I know that they're being proactive in some of the institutions in preparation for this happening inside. I saw a question, how can you assist us with urging the governor? Call him, write him, email the governor and ask that please save human beings. Like, they're not sentenced to death, so give them the opportunity to be released and not contract this virus while incarcerated. In terms of what else you might be able to do, my suggestion is, if you can donate things such as hand sanitizer to the Department of Corrections, call and check. Larger donations and taken into consideration. We'll continue to try to find ways to help people that are currently inside the system. My greatest suggestion is, because I only know one facility that's actually passing out hand sanitizer, is to see if you know someone in your network of people that can actually donate large amounts of hand sanitizer to the Department of Corrections.
And everybody should know that we will respond to the questions and the comments to the best of our ability, because we'll be posting this recording online after. So thank you, Sam. Again, if you'd like to make a donation, you can visit our website, antirecidivism.org. You can join our email and newsletter list. We will send you a follow-up email with ways to stay in touch. A couple questions that people asked were, what can you do to help? And I'm gonna let the rest of our panelists quickly swing around to answer that. And I'm gonna go to Norma first. What can you do to help?
Right now, what you could do to help would be to bring some cleaning supplies for our housing. We have housing. We also have an amazing partnership with A New Way of Life. We would love to extend some of those to them also. So thanks.
Jacob.
I would encourage people to get involved in the voting process, to register and to vote, so you can be counted and help kind of form California law and be involved in the community. Those are things that you can do.
Robert.
Yeah, if you would like to reach out to our brothers and sisters inside through writing a letter, email us at info@antirecidivism.org, and I'll make sure they get them.
Kent.
What I would just say, just keep reading the facts. You know, keep spreading words of love and support. Remember that there's still people incarcerated. There's youth. There's adults. There's immigrants. There's people who are on lockdown, in real lockdown. Keep them in your mind while we're going through this epidemic. But and then I just keep sharing the work that every organization such as ARC is doing to the world, so people know that there's people are actually doing things for other people. Thank you. Have a good day.
Selena.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Sam said. Make sure that your elected officials hear from you if this is something that you care about. Sometimes we hear that people are concerned that it doesn't make a difference when they call their legislator or the governor. I promise you it does. We go into those offices and they always say, oh, this is something we're hearing a lot about from our constituents, or this is something we're not hearing that much about our constituents. And so it's not going to be a priority for us. So again, if this is something you care about, tweet the governor, call them, Instagram, tag them, whatever you can do. They do pay attention and they do look at those numbers. I would also say it's always an option to donate to your community-based organizations who might have these people coming home or who might be working from a policy standpoint. We have many, many, many partners all across the state who are doing this right now and who, you know, always need support.
Great, and I will have Sam say the last word here for how you can help.
So again, how you can help is, in this specific time, please reach out again. We cannot say this enough. Reach out to the governor, email him, call your local representatives to call the governor. we need you to really tap into your network of people that you know, and ask them also to call, ask them to contact their representatives. In addition to that, I'd say be kind to one another, be compassionate, understand that we're all in this together. It's not something that affects one group of people. It's affecting all of humanity. It's a global pandemic. It's real, and it's affecting us now. And we need to come together as a community, period, as an entire community, and say, hey, look, we may have differences. We don't agree with a lot of things, or we don't agree on everything, but we do agree that we want better for each other. The last thing that I'd like to say is understand that in these difficult times, the best thing that we can do is to make sure that the next person, our sister or brother, is well. I believe in a saying that I am my brother or sister's keeper. ARC, our mission is to end mass incarceration in the state of California, and the power we do that by empowering formerly incarcerated and currently incarcerated people, human beings that are currently behind walls and that are in the most dire situation right now. Please reach out to your representatives, and let's make this happen. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you very much to our audience for being here. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to all the work behind the scenes, especially Rachel Chung. And thank you again. There are reentry and policy organizations working on this fight throughout the United States. So please support them however you can. Thank you for being here. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.